Good evening. Welcome to the Diablo 3 podcast. I am your host, Flux, and we are online at diabloii.net. I am joined on the show tonight by Aahz.
Good evening.
That is spelled with two A's.
Two A's.
And Captain Largemouth, Captain Goldfish.
Ahoy.
Captain Zebrafish. Did you consider other types of aquatic life form before you chose Captain Goldfish?
No. It was perfect.
Did you consider other military ranks before you chose Captain?
No, I think it's just right. It's just right. There was no question about it.
Maybe if you were like major zebrafish.
That would just not even. That doesn't make any sense.
Maybe he considered others, but he forgot them because goldfish have no memory.
No, that's too bad. Unlike girlfriends and elephants. Ho, ba-dum-ba. Okay, so we are talking about some recent news stuff, and this is the first of 6 shows, in theory 6 shows in a row, in 6 weeks. We are going to cover the top 10 skills of a particular class on each show. And each show will have one person at least one guest, who has been playing that class a lot lately and has opinions. We are not, I repeat, not ranking them in their most powerful level or their most useful or this is the best one with this 6-piece set. Because, the answer to that? Go to, Diablo 3 ladders or whatever and just, look at the most 10 used skills. It's not, really suspenseful that way, right?
You can find that on the internet?
Probably. I think it's a Hacksaw or something, though. If you look at it, they'll probably ban your account. You have to go play Overwatch instead.
Ugh.
But yes, I used to do these columns on Diablo 2 site back in Diablo II.net days, which was our old and new and current URL. But I would do these columns Flux's Decahedron back in the days when we had lots of writing and weird stuff. And I would always rank, I did top 10, unique whatever, top 10 unique weapons, top 10 amulets. And I would try to pick ones that were quirky or unusual, had an amusing theme or something. And there'd always be one comment LOL noob, why aren't you saying SOJ? SOJ is Roxor. It's yeah, thanks. That would be really an awesome column. Hey, here's the item everybody uses because it's the most powerful. It's number 1. Yay! Yeah, so this is a little more about what's more fun to use, what would you like to use, what would you use if you didn't have to, etc. And talking a little bit about general stuff, what we are amused by barbarians and their skills and stuff. And we are doing all the classes, so obviously Nerdwords will be on one pretty soon doing wizards because that's all he knows. After he finishes his next GR 150 using the Firebird set on his wizard. And other people are doing some other classes, and that'll be in the future. But for now, we're doing the wizard, and that'll be the second half of the show here. We're going to start off with a little bit of recent news. Sorry, I said wizard. Blizzard, wizard, barbarian. Speaking of wizards, we're going to do a little bit of the news this week before we start laughing horribly at Jay Wilson. We're going to talk about the ridiculous, overpowered buggery of the Firebug set. Sorry, is Firebird set or Firebug set?
It's the same
now. I
call
it the Firebug, yeah.
I think that's more appropriate. You were just explaining this one a little bit, Captain Goldfish. For people who don't know what the bug is and why the wizards totally dominate the top 1,000 right now.
So
just briefly tell us what it's about.
Yeah, it's using the 6-piece Firebirds with the Archon Virus set, and you use the bug that continues your 50 stacks of Firebird damage past when you get the elite burning, and it keeps going. It's supposed to go away when the elite dies, but you can bug and keep it forever, basically, from the beginning to the end of the rift. And then you go around and you hit things to set off your 4-piece bonus, which is burning things, and it double dips damage, but it doesn't ignite them, and it just pretty much instantly wipes everything out. I've tested it out and tried it, and I've gone to 75, and it's pretty ridiculous. It just burns everything instantly. Elites just go down within moments.
And what quality of gear were you using to do that with? Just junk?
Just the lowest level stuff. You don't want to have too much damage. I think people have put out spreadsheets for it. You want to have, I'd say 250k damage. If you get too high, then you don't get to take advantage of the bugginess of the 4-piece bonus. And you don't want any crit. All you get is toughness and cooldown and junk stuff. No ancients. Gems don't really even matter. Nothing really matters. It's just about having low DPS and using the bugs. So I don't see how it's not considered an exploit. Similar to the monk build that used the life per second pants. I can't remember what that was, but that was quickly squashed when they had people working on the game. So, yeah.
You think Jay Wilson could jump in and fix this in 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think...
I understand he's a lot of free time now.
I think he left just a little too early, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the... Have you tried this one, Aahz? You said you were sitting in a game and someone was just powering through a 75 and you were just like in the back, like, picking your nose or whatever.
Yeah, two of us were just sitting like near the entrance to levels, and we kind of creep up. The highest I've done is a 65. This was hardcore. And, we would take a minute to kill like a little ankle biter Stygian crawler. Meanwhile, the wizard's off by himself just torching things. You see the message on the screen, such and such, he's engaged, such and such, and then like 3 seconds later, killed. So it was seemed pretty effective. Seemed a little buggy.
Yeah, when all the buffs are up, everything goes down instantly. Like Rift Guardian, we were doing 75s with a full party, pretty much one shot, and then it burns within 3 seconds and it's dead. So
Blizzard posted news about this, acknowledging they know it exists and they're not going to fix it this season.
Right,
and why is that? Because they hate everyone but Wizards, or what?
I'm not sure. They put out news today that they have a proposed fix to it, and they're changing the setup, which sounds, with Wizards, it seems like every set that they put out, you have to do lots of crazy stuff to get any damage, like use 4 different skills of different elements within 4 seconds to get 6 seconds worth of damage for like the tile set. Whereas like Demon Hunter, I think you just have to stand there and get like 20% damage. Actually, don't get hit and you get all sorts of damage stuff and click on things. I think that's the Demon Hunter way, isn't it?
I couldn't tell you, but in theory that's what it used to be.
Well, but now the new Firebird set is, their proposed for next PTR is going to be, you have to burn things with 3 different fire skills to ignite them for your damage. So people are going pretty crazy right now. They think it's now you're going to have 3 different fire skills on your bar just to get the weapon damage, which means you're not going to be able to put all the different buff or defensive type skills. You're going to have to take place a couple of those. So it's going to change, but I don't know exactly why they're doing it that way.
I can only assume they just didn't want to mess with resetting the leaderboards in the season, because if you didn't reset them and you fixed the bug, then nobody would be able to challenge the people that had already done it. That's my best guess.
Well, when they said that they weren't going to punish anybody, the leaderboards weren't full of them yet. But as soon as they said, we are not going to do anything about it, it is now every wizard from pretty much top to bottom.
I'm looking at the current rankings, and Wizards are higher. I mean, they're all in 104 or so for their solo Rift clears, but other classes are in the mid to high 90s, so it's not like they're 20 GRs above people.
No, I think the big thing about it is that it's consistent. It's easy and consistent, and like all the Wizards are able to do. I mean, I've done a 75 with it, but I could easily go higher with no problem. Whereas on my Barb, I'm struggling with 75. I haven't given a whole lot of attention lately, but it's you can just pick up a wizard, and if you know how to do it, just do it without any Paragon, any experience, or anything. So it's very consistently, it's going to be high numbers from to get into the top 200 is going to be hard.
But and of course the other thing is what Aahz mentions, that you can just power other people through the game. So it's not like it's just wizards that are sort of cheating each other. You can break the whole progression point, and your friend's a wizard, now you've got all your gems are 20 levels higher than they could be otherwise.
Yeah, it's kind of like solo versus group. You have to have a group if you want to have the high level gems. Now it's like you just need to know a wizard and tag along for those quick, fairly safe
Which of you is currently strangling a dog?
Yeah, Yeah, she's kind of driving me nuts here. But yeah, if you know a wizard, you can just hop into a 75 to 80, level up your gems when, and it feels so much like cheating. It really doesn't feel right.
Well, looking at the rankings while you're talking here, it's really a difference in hardcore. Because I mean, the other classes are all like 88, 89. There's 192 Demon Witch Doctor, and the next guy's 87. I wonder how you manage that. But all the other ones are, and the wizard's like 103 in hardcore. So it's like a 15, 16, 17 higher GR in hardcore. Because like you said, you don't need to have DPS to make the build work. You can just buff up on your defense and stuff.
Yeah, and there's two things about it. You don't have to have you really don't have to worry about losing your wizard, because you can make another one with just any pieces you find and level your gems up to 25, or don't even have to do that, and you can do it again. So you can be kind of fearless with it. And it's fairly safe because it's just so fast. It's hard to die when an elite just blows up. You know, you're not in danger for very long. You know, if you can do a 75 in 5 minutes or less, it feels pretty safe.
Yeah, that would certainly cut down your risk of death. Yeah, looks like there's about 40 wizards that are higher than any other class and any other single class in hardcore this season. So that's obviously showing a little bit of a preference. So why aren't they fixing this? I mean, they could just nerf it, but then of course no one would be able to challenge the leaderboards, and they figure it's just this season's 2/3 over already, so who cares?
It's a puzzle. I don't know why they would not fix it, especially fix it before they say. I don't know how they couldn't think that it was going to be a huge issue if they told everybody that they weren't going to do anything about it.
And maybe they're just looking at it like they know that the wizard one is broken, but it's not like they really have anything for overall, right? There's not like a one solo leaderboard, so maybe they figure, yeah, the wizard's messed up, but the other classes can still compete if they want to, try to be the number one crusader or demon hunter or whatever.
I remember a few seasons ago when the whole bug with Sever and Demon Hunters came up, where it would like create huge damage with one particular skill, and they nerfed that like overnight, and they like rolled people back who'd been using it and stuff. I mean, we always joke there's no one left working on Diablo 3.
That could be it.
And maybe there's like literally no programmers to fix it, so they just had one of their their community managers put down Overwatch for 5 minutes and said, "Yeah, let's make a post about this and get back to playing like a Bastion or whatever." Well, is Bastion Overwatch? That's a pretty good guess, right?
I don't know why they just did not say anything about it, kind of like they've done with the bots and the other overlay things. They didn't say anything about it at all, which at least kept people thinking, well, maybe it's not going to be okay, or maybe I shouldn't bot because they haven't. Before they didn't say anything about it, and now they came out and said they're not going to punish people.
Yeah, but botting's an outright exploit. I mean, people know that botting is not allowed. But, I mean, this is just using a game system, kind of making a clever use of a game system.
Well, that's why I feel like it's kind of like, and I don't remember the exact exploit of the monk who used the pants that basically gave him billions.
Death's bargain.
Yeah,
Death's
billions
bargain.
Of life per second or whatever. That seems like what this is to me. Although I don't really understand how this set is doing what it's doing. I don't really get the numbers, but it's...
No, that's why it's a bug.
Yeah.
Probably the programmers don't understand it either, or maybe you indicated that they finally did diagnose it, but...
And all that being said, it is fun. It's a pretty fun little... I enjoy the play. If it wasn't that... If they could fix it to where you were playing in that style, but it wasn't a bug, and it maybe it doesn't have to do that much damage so quickly, but it is kind of a fun, it reminds me of the Crusader of last year where you just ran around blasting things once in a while.
Does it break your hand? Do you do the build in any way?
No.
Because I've had these other buggy builds where you had to hit every button, 25 times a second.
No, this
one works, but I have a carpal tunnel syndrome.
This one, you basically, all you do is you force move around so you don't accidentally click on anything, and it's, you click on just click on things once. You don't spam anything. You just click on it and then run past it, or you don't want to click on an elite more than once every 3 seconds. Otherwise, you'll start the burn and you'll lose your bugged bonus and have to gain it back either in the rift, or you can leave the rift and gain it outside the rift. So that
would make you like 6 minutes to clear the rift instead of 5 minutes. So that's obviously can't be done.
Yeah, you got all the time in the world to do whatever you feel like. You can stop and like, this isn't working. I'm going to go out and do something else. Unless you ignite the rift boss, then you're done. You can't do anything because he'll just stay burning forever, and you can't. Once they're burning, you don't do any damage to them at all.
Fire.
So does that mean you're not supposed to click on the Rift Guardian at all when he appears?
You have to click on him once every 3 seconds.
Once every 3 seconds, okay.
Yeah.
And just run in circles while he burns?
Pretty much. Well, you just run away, and within 3 seconds he should be dead unless you're doing something well over 75. I haven't tried anything more. I kind of want to use an actual build to push myself. So I don't want to do this one too much. I want to see how far I can push an actual wizard. See how easily I can kill one off the normal way.
Okay, I'm depressed now. Next topic. So they're not fixing it, and no one cares. So the other news, we had like 3 emails one day about like news submission emails, and like you guys are gonna love this, or like you guys are gonna have a great time, and it's like what? Oh, Jay Wilson quit. So do people think that we harbor like some everlasting grudge against Jay Wilson, and if so, why or why not?
Well,
do either of you harbor a huge grudge against Jay Wilson?
No. I never got into the whole like who did what and when. Back then I was just playing the game and enjoying myself, and when things changed I was happy, but I never was like, who was the person responsible for that crazy decision?
Let's hope you never take a job in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Okay, Aahz, how did you feel about Jay Wilson, and do you still feel that way?
No, I didn't have any strong feelings, although, I mean, the game definitely improved markedly from an item standpoint once he was, reassigned. So some of the complaints I think are legit, but on the other hand, the gameplay itself is really good, and yeah, I think they tried to get away, whoever it was, whether it was him or not. I mean, he has to be responsible ultimately, but they went too far away from some of the things that worked in D2, and in some cases that was better, but in a lot of cases, especially the item system, it was worse, a lot worse. So, but is it all his fault? There's no way. Like, Blizzard's too big of a company for it to fall onto any one person.
And he left the Diablo 3 team like 2.5 years ago. I mean, it's not like he left last week. It's been a long while.
That's true. Wonder what he was
we had this
working
discussion on podcast then. Yeah, he was working on something else, but nobody knows what. Right?
Nobody
it's still
knows
a mystery.
what. At least I never saw anything about what he was actually assigned to. So.
Because they said he was heading up an unannounced project team, and then they announced Overwatch, and obviously he wasn't running that. And I used to always make jokes on the podcast about how he was actually running Diablo 4's development team. Like, obviously he's a proven RPG developer.
Yep.
He was the game director for the most popular, biggest-selling computer RPG game ever. So obviously he's highly qualified to work on Diablo 4, right?
If you're the suits at Blizzard, isn't that what you think? Like, to me, the sales number was very large, and so, okay, the guy sold a lot of copies. Don't you want to give him another shot? I can see that logic for sure.
That is logic that makes me unhappy.
Well, yeah.
But okay, we're assuming he wasn't actually working on Diablo 4, but that would be pretty funny if he was. But so his experience before working at Blizzard was doing like Warhammer games. So he was like into like an RTS kind of thing. So people were like, maybe he's like heading up like Warcraft, World of Warcraft 4 or like StarCraft 5 or something, or who knows. But that would seem unlikely. But now he's gone, and people will never find out. But
maybe he was working on the movie.
Yeah, that's going well. Actually, I'm going to talk about the Warcraft movie in a minute, but I think it's a little late for Jay's involvement in that. But yeah, so he left, and I don't, I mean, he was obviously Diablo 3. He was a nice enough guy. I interviewed him a couple times, and he seemed like he was passionate about the game, but the initial Diablo 3 vanilla release was really lacking in a few areas, like endgame and items and various other stuff. And of course, Jay became kind of a scapegoat because he was like the public face of the game and the main person talking, much like Bashiak was also a scapegoat because he was the main community manager. And the game got a lot better subsequently, but there's no saying that it wouldn't have gotten better under Jay. He's probably capable of admitting error and realizing mistakes and trying to fix stuff. He was there when they put the Paragon system in, and I'm sure they started working on items revisions and such. So, no, we don't have like a Jay Wilson like voodoo doll or anything here. At least I don't. Do you have one, Aahz?
Well, no, but his comment towards Brevik was pretty unfortunate. So
yeah,
we can't.
Jay did definitely show why you don't get drunk and go on
Yeah.
Facebook late Sunday night looking at other game developers' web pages. Or at least don't talk about them while you're there.
It's hard to give too much benefit of the doubt when that's the first impulse, but on the other hand, hopefully that was just a moment of, poor judgment. So
I'm sure all of us, amidst the confines of our own particular work team, have said "F that loser" about someone running another work team that seems to be critiquing us. And Jay thought he was on a private private Facebook page, not one that was public to everybody. So
if you were on his team, you appreciated it though, because he in some ways that was him standing up for you.
Yeah.
But
it seemed to me like he was intentionally missing it. I mean, we talked about this 50 podcasts ago, but Dave Brevik, in an interview with Rush, our head guy here at InGamers, which is now, what are we called now? PC Invasion, something like that? God, I don't even know. We changed too many times. But he had interviewed Mr. Brevik at some event and asked him about how Diablo 3 hadn't worked well. And Dave basically said something like, well, we had such a great team. It's really a testament to what a great team we had on Diablo 2. And it seemed like Dave meant it as, yeah, I had really great guys I worked with back in the day who made a great game. And the Diablo 3 guys took it as Dave saying, yeah, the current team sucks and my team was better, So that was kind of where Jay got his, F that loser comment from, right?
I guess so.
And I'm sure, I don't know if you guys have worked in teams at your work or in real life or something, but I'm sure we've all had basically the exact same comment, right? Talking amongst yourselves about the other team that you're in competition with or who appears to be talking shit about you.
Yeah, it's never good to be public when you thought you were private.
Or vice versa.
That's definitely true. I mean, when you think about like locker room talk in sports, right? Like that stuff. He probably meant it to stay in the locker room, but turns out he wasn't private. So that's kind of what I hope anyway.
Yeah. So Jay retired or moved on. He wants to work on his writing, which seems like a really kind of a curious decision because like nobody writes books anymore, but. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing with that. He hasn't told us if he wants to do writing on what. The other irony there, we could obviously make about a lot of cruel jokes about how the writing of Diablo 3 and Butterfly Queen killing off Cain and stuff, right? So obviously Jay's shown us his expertise with writing. Some of those awesome dialogues, the whole I will tear your soul out and eat your heart, and how Diablo says that like 45 times in a row.
Yeah,
and
yeah, the greatest innovation, the greatest quality of life improvement ever was automatically skipping cut scenes, right?
That was very good. Very much appreciated.
So yeah, who knows what Jay was writing? He wasn't credited as a writer. He was more of an overall team designer. But yeah, it would be hard to look at the writing of Diablo 3 Vanilla and say, yes, this is someone who needs to spend more time on their writing.
Agreed.
Or perhaps you disagree. We have some lore fans on the show sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not one of them. I did watch some of the cutscenes. I tried to watch some of it and pay attention a little bit when I first started, the first time through it. But then it was kind of, and I don't think I even made it through. Sometimes I'm just like, all right, just space bar, let's go.
Okay, any final thoughts on Jay? That's it? He's gone, and no one really cares?
Yeah, nope.
People often say the opposite of love is hate. The opposite of love and hate is indifference. So we're pretty much indifferent to Jay leaving, so I don't know if that means we love him or we hate him. Speaking of things that we may love or hate, a next little topic here before we get to the Barbarian. World of Warcraft movie, coming out pretty soon, as the joke goes. We've been waiting for many, many years for a video game movie that critics would finally say, this is a really good movie. We're still waiting. Reviews have not been real kind. It's made decent money overseas. Are either of you guys World of Warcraft fans? Do you care about seeing the WoW movie?
No. I don't know anything. I've never played that game. I played 1, 2, and 3 and loved them all, and then this is not... World of Warcraft is not Warcraft to me, so I'm never going to play it. It's dead to me.
But how about the movie? Do you like anime movies? Do you like The Hobbit? Do you like, mythology and fantasy and such?
Not... I don't think this one's going to do it for me.
What do you think, Aahz?
Yeah, I never played World of Warcraft. Don't intend to see the movie. I do like the Lord of the Rings movies. Those were very good. So I suppose it's possible that if it lands on Netflix or something, I'll give it a watch. I did just hear, was it Duncan Jones on the Nerdist podcast, and I don't know, he was relatively interesting. So, but probably not enough for me to actually see the movie.
Do you see most like CGI movies or fantasy films or something? Or if it was I don't know, Warhammer 2000 movie, would you be more interested, or is it just because you don't care about World of Warcraft, or it's just not even on your radar?
With the trend of, like you mentioned, there really hasn't been a video game movie that has brought in a wider audience, and with the fact that I don't play this franchise, it's just not likely to have any interest for me. If it gets great reviews or something, then obviously I'd give it a look, but it doesn't sound like it's off to that kind of start.
No, it's gotten really rad reviews, actually.
It looks like a movie I don't want to watch.
Boy, this is just an awesome Blizzard gaming podcast here, huh?
You got the wrong guys on this one for World of Warcraft.
Yeah, 32% on Metacritic right now. Okay, interesting. 32% from critics and 8.7 from almost 1,000 user reviews.
Wow.
So it's like the opposite of Diablo 3, which had really good critic scores and horrible user scores. I mean, it's got 3 positive, 17 mixed, and 19 negative reviews right now on Metacritic.
I think if I was like younger and liked playing the game, like if I were a younger kid and when I was younger, if they came out with a Legend of Zelda movie, I would know it's going to be bad, but I'm still going to watch it. And it would have been bad, and I would have watched it. But at this point in my life, I'm not going to, I just could, even if I played Warcraft, I don't see myself wanting to see that.
If you could take a keyboard with you to the movie and hit the space bar to cut over all the bad scenes, would you watch it then?
Well, if I can remap to my Q key.
Just zip forward to the next fight scene, right? Zip, zip, zip. Okay, stop talking.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of some of the action scenes and some of the, like you mentioned The Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movie. I remember watching like them escaping from the mountain with all of the orcs in it. Or trolls, whichever one they were.
Goblins. God damn it, you're messing up the fantasy.
Well, just to visually see it was ridiculous. Like nobody is at the door. They're all inside. They ran out. It took like 15, 20 minutes. I don't know how long. But at some point, the action scenes get a little bit redundant, so no, this movie's got nothing for me. I'm not going to see it.
I'm just looking over the main Metacritic.com page for Warcraft, and they have a 0-score review. The quote here at the start: "This is a truly depressing experience. It's rare to feel such pity for a major studio movie, but watching Warcraft bend over backwards to set up a sequel is like watching a desperate paramedic apply CPR to someone who's clearly been dead for hours." Okay, other than that, he liked it though. Have you guys seen the trailer for it? I mean, have you looked at the visuals and such?
Yeah, I've seen some things for it. It doesn't look appealing to me.
I have long been fascinated. I've seen most CGI films. As the whole Uncanny Valley thing has been an issue forever, where like if things look too realistic, they become less appealing. So like every Pixar movie, all the humans are really stylized, like The Incredibles or something like that. And people like that. The human mind works with that. Or else, if you can do absolutely perfect CGI, it can look real and be convincing. But the closer it gets to perfect without being perfect, the less appealing people find it.
Yeah, they get kind of creepy.
Which is what they call the Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
And the whole World of Warcraft thing it's like it's 90% cartoonish, and yet the faces are trying to look totally realistic, and I just find it really odd looking. I just kind of stare at it and think, what are they trying to make this look like?
Yeah, I'd be happier if it was like just a cartoon.
And that's what I think's funny about it, because World of Warcraft, obviously Blizzard has this incredible reputation of making really stylized graphics. And they obviously do it very well. I mean, every game they make, right? I mean, even Overwatch is the newest example. They're all super stylized, yet it looks really good. I mean, I've watched a bunch of these. I haven't played Overwatch. I played a little bit at BlizzCon 2 years ago, but I haven't cared to play it in real life because I like busy and stuff. But it looks awesome. I mean, they have these little short videos of it. The debut with those two kids in the Jurassic Park Recreation Museum, and the sulky older brother in the hoodie, and the younger kid, etc. And then Tracer jumps around and has sex with a gorilla or whatever. But it was pretty fun watching. And they made a couple of other ones, and they're all really impressive looking. And I see little clips all the time on like meme sites. Like every Overwatch game has this play of the game replay thing they do at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always seeing those getting gifted up and put on like meme sites and stuff. And then, of course, over Blizzard, World of Warcraft itself, insert shoulder pads joke here, right? And all of Diablo 3 has been very stylized. And then they make an actual movie of it, and it looks like they tried to make it look super realistic, and it just looks kind of creepy. So I don't know about that artistic decision there.
Yeah, it's hard it's a hard thing to do correctly, and within whatever budget they have, and I wouldn't want to be responsible for that.
Yeah, so you guys are just bursting with World of Warcraft commentary. Thanks for you told us it was a Barbarian Top 10 podcast. Nobody's thinking about World of Warcraft.
True. Yeah, I don't play it. I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to watch it.
If it was a Diablo movie, would you be watching it, even with bad reviews?
I'd be sad about it, probably. And I'd probably watch it like I watch a lot of things in a small screen next to my computer while I'm not paying attention to it.
Well, currently, Warcraft Movie has made almost $300 million worldwide, and has made $10 million in the U.S., so it opened 2 weeks earlier everywhere else. Production budget was $160 million, so apparently it's basically already made a profit. So we may get a sequel after all, despite these reviews saying mean things on every left and right. It'll probably make $500 million total, at least, if not more. So there. Suck on that, haters.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Big numbers.
And since now Jay Wilson has free time to write the plot for the next one, I'm sure it'll be really awesome.
There you go.
Okay, that was a joke. Okay, so Barbarian stuff. Where are we? We are 30 minutes in here. Okay, so Barbarian stuff. So we went over, Aahz has been playing some Barbarian this season. It's, as we said earlier, it's Season 6, and you're playing a Barbarian. So was this literally, if you played a different class every season, and you just were forced to play the Barbarian in Season 6?
You got it. I'd played every other class so far. So Season 6, Barbarian.
If you play your favorite class once per season for the next 6 seasons, when will the Barbarian be played next?
Season 12.
Okay, I was afraid you might say that. So you're really enjoying the experience then.
It's still, I've got about 600 some Paragon, but it's still the lowest percentage time on of all my characters. So,
what percent of that Paragon came sitting at the stairway watching Wizard Firebug his ass through a 75?
Like 30, which, that's actually my first skill that I picked was Earthquake Chilling Earth. So when you're chilling at the beginning of a rift watching the Firebird Wizard kill stuff, it works out great. Because all the little Stygian crawlers, they just sit there for a while you try to burn them down. So that's what I chose first, Earthquake Chilling Earth, and also has great crowd control if you're doing like a support Barb.
So the theory of this, as I mentioned earlier, we were kind of talking about some of the favorite skills of the Barb, things you'd love to use, things you wish they worked better. It's not just, this one works really awesome. I use HOTA because it kills things, LOL, nub. So I kind of looked over some of my favorite Barbarian skills. I played a lot of Barbarian in Diablo 2, played tons of it in Diablo 2, played a fair amount early in Diablo 3, haven't played much lately. But you're playing one now, Aahz, so...
That's correct.
Your favorite... So that was your number 10 skill, is
number
the skill that stomps the ground and makes things not move for a while?
Yeah.
That sounds really fun. Does that capture the essence of what it means to you to be a Barbarian?
I am playing the that set. I'm playing the Earthquake set, or the set of Might of the Earth, so I'm using the physical build to kill stuff like quickly, but for sitting in risk with Firebird Wizards, chilling Earth, that's the way to go.
So Earthquake was not on my list of skills that I even
shockingly
knew.
That's because you're the wizard. You're the wizard killing stuff, not cowering in the corner.
Barb was my first character that I got into Inferno, and I played steady Barb for a long time then. And so a lot of my memories of Barb, and I'm playing a Barb this season too. I started off with Barb. So, but most of my memories of Barb were from sets that made you use different skills. And Earthquake is just never. I never got into the set that required Earthquake, and it just never made sense to use it before the set made you use it. I don't know if anybody would have used it.
So this is not one I would put in the top 10, because maybe you use it because it's effective at some point, but you don't really enjoy it. I mean, is your fantasy barbarian to be like, I want to have like a really crappy version of like Frost Nova? I have a ground stop version of Frost Nova. Ooh yeah.
Yeah, but
no, it's not.
Sit
down, Conan.
You're okay. Next.
See, I didn't have mine listed in top 10 format.
Let's hope Aahz didn't either, given his start.
Is that what is he going from bottom
10.
to top?
Worst to first.
Well, I can't go from backwards to frontwards on these. I can only go from my favorite to lesser favorites.
Well, that would then read the lesser favorite first.
My lesser favorite?
We're building up to the ones you really like, so we're going through the ones you don't like so much to start with.
Okay, Earthquake.
Have you ever watched the David Letterman show?
Yeah, I don't like Earthquake, but that's not even on my list of...
Yeah, this is top 10 best, not top 10 least favorites.
Okay, I say we'll just go to his 9, and if mine aren't on there, I'll...
Just go through yours, Aahz, and we'll just chime in where appropriate.
Yeah.
So going back to the old days again, because I did play some Barb, before now, I liked Frenzy Sidearm, because you're swinging really fast, and you're just throwing random axes out.
That was a popular choice. Yeah, that was a popular choice.
I always wondered, if you pulled your armor back like Neo in the Matrix, if you just have a bunch of axes underneath, because they're just coming out every once in a while.
It's the same place that wizards hold. That demon hunters hold their grenades.
Right.
Like your entire body is bristling with grenades, and you're making more even as you throw them.
Well, I think
like a human grenade hedgehog.
I've noticed that physics are different in Sanctuary than they are in the world we live in. It seems like that anyway. I'm no expert.
Definitely. Well, the Barb's primary skills, I think all of the Barb's primary skills are fun. I really had a hard time choosing one, but you could, back in the old days when you actually used one often, I liked Bash, I liked Cleave, I liked them all except for, did they have Weapon Throw? Was that added, or was that...
It didn't used to be a primary.
Yeah. So I don't know why that's in. That's like Weapon Throw as a primary is like the guy who runs out of bullets and throws his gun at Superman. That's what that is. I mean, it's if you don't want to do anything or be useful to anybody, you put Weapon Throw and just stand there and throw them. I don't even know what that's there for.
It's there to give them a ranged attack because they have this fantasy version of the game where you'd actually have to hit things you couldn't just run over and smash in a tenth of a second.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But the other three, there's a lot of fun options there. I use them all at different times. So those were all fun when you actually had a primary on your bar.
Okay, here's where we argue. This is the Barbarian. So this is kind of reminding me. I wrote right at the start of my thing, Bash, Cleave, HOTA, Rend, Revenge, boring, and exclamation points. Stand still, smash things next to you. Boring, boring. I always found that a really lame playstyle. Because I'm almost quitting myself for my comments on this. The Jay Wilson style, it's awesome to hit stuff so hard I watch things explode into blood. It never really resonated with me. I like hitting stuff really fast or moving around fast or using strategy, and I like Frenzy a lot. So what is... I mean, there's obviously no right or wrong answer. It's kind of a personal preference. But, I mean, I remember lots of stuff in the early Diablo 3, and this is not having anything to do with Jay Wilson having left the company or whatever, but he was obviously the spokesperson, and he was a big Barbarian fan back in the old days. And he would be like, I love smashing stuff and feeling awesome watching things explode. So is that what works for you, Captain Goldfish? You just like feeling really powerful and smashing things?
What I liked was, especially when I first got into Inferno and I had my group, I would run in and my top favorite skills are all the ones that I used first getting into Inferno. I would basically go in there and I would be the tank, and all my friends would be out ranging, and I would keep them alive by taking all the hits. And so yeah, I just stood there and did a little bit of damage here and there, but nothing compared to them. But it was a different time back then. It was a different game. There were a lot less. The density wasn't there, and you'd like be battling with a few monsters at a time and then move on, and things would kill you easily. So
repeatedly, continually.
Yeah, well, it was hardcore, so not too much repeatedly. But yeah, I liked, I had to have a primary on there so you could refill your.
You could generate a fury, right?
Yeah, so. That's like the whole. You had to have a primary to generate. There weren't builds. Well, at least I didn't know about them. It took a while to figure out different ways around that. And I wasn't.
So if you were playing somehow independent of needing fury or whatever, and you I want to play Barbarian, Cleave I kind of liked because you could hit multiple things with it. I remember like in Diablo 3 beta, it's like you would just have to use bash, and you'd finally get a little bit of fury, and then you'd use cleave, just like, I can hit 3 things at once? Oh my god, I'm so powerful now. But generally, I just was using that I wanted to go faster and hit lots of things at once.
Well, cleave rupture is a great leveling skill.
And they all explode, right?
Yeah, when you're leveling, if you can get that kill with cleave, it does a lot of damage, for packs. So that's one that I really like is leveling.
But is cleave even any good, or is it only good because bash is so incredibly boring? And cleave is a step up from that.
The rune that makes cleave work is rupture, because you get actual area damage on a primary. That's what I would say about it.
That was neither a yes nor a no. Okay, so we're a bit mixed opinions on the standing still and smashing stuff. What's your next? What are you up to, Aahz?
Threatening shout, Grim Harvest. Okay.
Okay, what does that do?
So you shout at enemies, and they have a higher chance to pop out a health globe. So how does that work? Now,
well, if it's Season 5 of Diablo 3, we all know how that worked.
Yeah. Well, see, what I'm wondering is maybe we have the causation wrong. Maybe globes don't appear when you kill stuff. Maybe, creatures all have globes in them, and that's what kills them. And sometimes they stay together and pop out. So threatening shout, what are you doing, putting another globe in there? I don't know. It's
like reverse item find from Diablo 2.
Sometimes they mutate and they're yellow globes.
Remember in Diablo 2, every single monster had extra items in them if you just dug through their corpses a little bit?
Yeah.
So this is like the health globe version of that.
And in the first, Diablo manual, they tried to explain it like you killed a monster and then that caused some kind of temporal rift and an item would appear. Maybe instead of another lore book, we need a technical manual so we can figure out how this stuff works in Sanctuary. Like an illustrated technical manual like they have with the Star Wars stuff.
I think that's what the Warcraft movie does, actually.
Oh.
It explains everything.
No wonder it's getting such bad reviews.
Exactly.
I remember Threatening Shout as the thing that you used when it automatically popped on your bar when you were leveling and hadn't changed it yet.
That's a lot of skills, though, really.
Yeah. Well, until you get a real, the battle rage.
Also known as caltrops. No one's ever used caltrops on purpose. Just get it to level 6, you have nothing else for a while, it's okay.
Yeah, so that's until you get a real shout or cry. I think that's where that lied with me.
I had another thought about Frenzy I meant to ask. I always liked Sidearm too. Just got that free axe shot, and occasionally it would pop some summoner on the other end of the screen. You'd be like, haha, free kill. Did it feel less? I've never used it. I was looking at the descriptions of them today, and of course now apparently it's an awesome skill. It has freezing effect and it pierces. I have never used it since they upgraded it to that. It used to be a single axe that would hit one thing, and it wasn't very much damage. It was the same damage as your regular hits. And now it's 300% damage, and it freezes stuff, and it pierces. I'm that sounds pretty awesome, actually. But, of course, there are other items in the game, there's the belt that every Demon Hunter uses initially for a while, where it shoots a dagger at something near you. And that's 600% weapon damage. Mm-hmm. So, this Frenzy, do you feel like Frenzy Sidearm is, made less useful or powerful by the fact that random belts and other equipment gives you, double the effect of that just for free?
Well, it's not just that. There's so many other ways to get Fury now with gear and such that the only reason that I have a primary on my bar is because of focus and restraint. Otherwise, I'd be doing a no-gen build. So, like
every other class.
We're right back to the whole, like, oh, why would I want to waste a primary when I can be casting all these other skills that do so much more damage?
Yeah, but as the ground rules of this podcast, it's not just about what's effective in your build. You know, it's like if it's actually fun, would you enjoy doing it? Like the fantasy of a barbarian, to me, I enjoyed hitting stuff really fast. That's why I like monks better, I guess, because they always had lots of little fast hits, and you could dart from one thing to the other. And I like the idea of that with Barbs. I like to do leap attack, and I like to do furious charge, and I like to do frenzy and hit things really fast. And I guess I should be playing a goddamn monk, frankly.
I think there's a LON build that uses frenzy. I think it's a Thorns build, actually. So I'm not sure if it uses the sidearm rune or not in that. Do you know, Goldfish?
I don't know which one it does use, but it does use frenzy to just...
frenzy and life on hit. You just get a whole bunch of life on hit, I think, and that's your sustain.
Yeah, I doubt it uses sidearm, because that doesn't...
Probably not.
Yeah, I always used as I don't know why we're on primary still, but I use... I think I remember using the bash punish one where you got...
yes.
It increased all your damage. You get 3 stacks, 4%, so you get 12% damage.
That was actually a really good combo when you had to build Fury, because then you would switch to Hoda. You build it up, have your stacks, and then hammer. At least that's how I used it. And that
was back when 12% damage actually mattered.
Right.
Now you get like 100% damage from every other item you're wearing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, great. So what's your, what are you up to, 8 now, 7? What are you up to, Aahz?
My next one's Ancient Spear Boulder Toss. Because how fun is it to throw a big, huge rock that you get from out of nowhere and hit stuff
Thank you,
with?
Jay Wilson.
That's right.
No, it's really fun, actually.
That was
it's
a fairly
builds this year. Sorry, go ahead, Goldfish.
That was a later edition, wasn't it? The Boulder Toss. I don't remember seeing that before.
I think it's been a while.
Right after
I'm sure
ROS.
it's probably been for a year, but I don't. That didn't exist back when I was playing Barbs in D2 Vanilla. So
yeah, I think it was ROS that rune was, because that's the first time I had ever seen it, and I'd played Barb a lot before that, and it cracked me up. It was hilarious. I thought I do love that skill. I love the idea of just like getting rid of all your fury at once and throwing it and missing something.
Yeah.
But now I'm using that in my build that actually does crazy damage in the Rakers build, where you throw it and things just get flattened by it. It makes me laugh every time. It's one of my favorites.
So you mentioned Ancient Spear, and I had mentioned Ancient Spear Harpoon, which is like the coolest skill ever in the early days. It's like everyone had their Mortal Kombat sound effect, with the get over here thing.
Yep.
It's like, why don't they just call the skill Ancient Harpoon instead of Ancient Spear? Because really that's the only cool thing that could ever possibly be, and now of course no one's used that skill in 3 years.
Well, that's used, people use that, they can move them around in like the ZDPS builds. I think Rage Flip is one that also moves them around. But you shoot out, you hook up and you grab something, and then you're gathering them. So it's been used to like control. Monsters.
Not how it's meant to be. Not how it was designed, of course, but
no.
And of course, the funniest thing with that, with the first days, first time we ever got to use that, it was in the BlizzCon demo when it was in the PvP demo, and that was like the greatest dream in the PvP demo, to catch some goddamn quick-ass little wizard and yank him over to you and just cut his head off in one hit. That was like Mortal Kombat in Diablo 3. And the Blizzard, in the design theory, it's like, well, there's going to be like all these kiting, archers and shamans and monsters you can't just catch up to instantly, and you need to like hit them and drag them in close and then kill them with something else. Apparently that was when you were going to be able to use all 20 skills at once in the game, and you could have total utility nonsense skills you'd never use for any other purpose, but yeah, that one's never been a real way to, translate into the actual game itself.
Yeah.
But conceptually...
But the Boulder Toss, that's a great one. That's just a skill that makes me smile, and I'm glad it does something now. But when my friend was using it when ROS first came out, that thing came flying out, and it's just fun.
It bowled you over.
It's funny, and I think it goes over walls, too.
Yeah, I think it does. But he would often miss, which was, you and back then it was harder to generate fury. Now it's like, it just comes like crazy. But
it's just part of your natural rotation, yeah.
Yeah, building up and then to miss, and that's even somewhat more funny when he just throws it out in the middle of nowhere. That's
okay. Next up, Aahz.
Yeah,
I've got leap, and I chose death from above just because that's the one that I've used the most. But especially with loot socks, it's a great utility, movement, defense skill. What's the armor one? That one's a pretty good one too. When you leap in and get armor bonus, iron impact.
The leap is the one that I used to get into. That was one of my main skills that I loved using because it just iron impact. And I think originally it was depending on how many you hit, it would go up a percentage. And yeah, it was I could leap in and be really tough, and then I love that one. I love leaping in.
Before they capped it, it was great to like leap into a pack of Stygian crawlers, in Act 3, and watch your screen go way up on your armor rating. Of course, you didn't really need it for those, but it was still fun to see.
Yeah.
Well, I remember using that in the early days. When your barbing was so fragile early in Diablo 3 vanilla, you'd use that and ground stomp a lot. Like you'd leap in, they'd all be stunned for 3 seconds. You'd start beating on something. As soon as it unstunned, you'd ground stomp. It would go back to being stunned for 3 seconds. And by the time that was done, you were almost back to doing your cooldown was almost over for leap again. So back when you were weak and simple, and zip around, movement skills. That's the first one of your skills I agree with, except for frenzy. So good job. You're not off the podcast yet. What's up next?
How about Wrath of the Berzerker?
That had to be on the list somewhere, right?
I picked Insanity just because of, more damage. But I want to point out a couple things. One, isn't this the biggest bug in the game? It's never been documented.
No, the wizard is a wizard bug. I think
the second biggest bug in the game. They never documented the CC immunity. That's a huge advantage, and it's not listed.
Can't be frozen, can't be stunned, can't be pulled in.
And it's almost that got into the game without them realizing. And they said, "Oh, I guess we better leave it in, and we better give that to all the other classes too."
Belatedly.
I don't know. It's also just cool wondering how stuff expands and contracts. That has really magic armor. It's like the Bill Bixby pants from the '70s Hulk show.
The elastic waist purple pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not a big. I don't like that one. I mean, you have to have it now, but it's kind of a weird one.
I'm not using it out of your set, but I know what you're saying in general.
Yeah, that was my first. I have Wrath of Berzerker first set. It's good or bad. It's really debatable because it's so powerful. I mean, not currently, but I mean, in previous builds for a while, it was absolutely mandatory. It was initially fun in Diablo 3. It had a 2-minute cooldown, and it only lasted for 15 seconds, right, or 20 seconds or something.
I think that's why I never had it on my. I didn't have room for it on my bar.
I mean, forever ago in vanilla, you could not turn the cooldown down to nothing like you can now.
Right.
So it was this super powerful nuke skill. You would save it up and use it when you're really in trouble or against an elite, and then you couldn't use it again for 2 minutes. That seemed like a fairly decent design, right? And then a couple of patches later, people discovered they could keep it on full time, and that cut you could also do other stuff full time forever because it gave you such a huge boost to resource generation and resource cost and power, and it was then it became mandatory. So it was either nobody used it or everybody used it.
Yeah, in the early days, I played around with it, but I took it off my bar because I noticed I was never using it. I was always saving it for an emergency. And
the time never came.
Yeah, exactly right. So I just I had to take this off my bar because I'm not using it enough.
Or there were times when people used that 100% of the time.
Sure.
So
yeah,
I guess it's hard to balance the skill in that way.
Yeah, I didn't have a build that could use it that often, so it wasn't consistent enough. If I needed it and I didn't have it, then I wanted to have. I think I used instead of that I used Ignored Pain, which would be up more often and could get me out of trouble more. And I can go back in and then, you weren't out and down for 2 minutes. That's just crazy. That's a long time.
the easy comparison now is the way Vengeance works for the Demon Hunter. And since I only know the Demon Hunter, I have to make all analogies to the Demon Hunter.
Good.
So every single last 2 seasons, once Dawn became so powerful on the duration, the cooldown reduction for Vengeance, every Demon Hunter with any kind of decent gear is just 100% uptime or like 95% uptime on Vengeance. Because it's like a huge resource boost if you use Seethe, or else you can get it for other effects, whichever one uses Seethe, because that's the best thing with almost every build. Mm-hmm. And it gives you a huge damage buff, and it's throwing out all kinds of little random shots for you just as you go along. And now every single Demon Hunter is just a constant red blur. And it's like back like for a while, every Barbarian was this big white-haired monster, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
and the monk has Epiphany, but that's almost impossible to keep up as much.
Yes, I was going to say that's the other skill like this, but that one has never been super exploitable, at least as far as I know, in terms of having it up all the time, and it's always... But Epiphany doesn't just give you massive... It's not like it's got 100% damage in every form, and then you just use it for that by itself.
No, it doesn't. It's not nearly as good. It just doesn't... Yeah. It doesn't have... But it gives you a huge resources and some damage reduction, but not really...
Defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, WOTB in theory is awesome, and like this Hulk mode stuff, and it does fit the character. I think the character like ideal is really great. The Barbarian just would go Berzerker mode. It's like a very classic Barbarian kind of thing, right?
Yes.
But then like it's too powerful with the CC, and then the 100% uptime, and then they nerf it so it's no longer powerful, and it's I don't know. I guess I like the idea of it, but the implementation has never been ideal.
Well, they took it off so you couldn't have it all the time, and then they put it back, didn't they?
Yes.
I wasn't...
Probably more than once.
It was, for a long time, it was perma Wrath, right? Then for a while, for a season or two maybe, they took it.
Well, for a long time, the Whirlwind build forever was with this, because you had to use that because it gave you other effects as well with Sprint. So every Barbarian ever was always using Sprint and WOTB and Whirlwind, and it's like, variety. Okay, next skill, Aahz.
Whirlwind. I don't really use it a lot, but everybody had it for such a long time. I felt like I had to be on the list, so I chose a Dust Devils. So, which one looks more like...
Is there an Alcazir run involved in this too?
Which one looks more like the Tasmanian Devil? Whirlwind Dust Devils or Sprint? One run like that.
A cheerleader's ankle.
Cheerleader's ankle?
That was the Tasmanian Devil, right? That's dated. That was about 10 years ago.
Do you use Whirlwind, Goldfish?
My notes on Whirlwind, I think I put down Ba. Yeah, Ba.
Is there a humbug there too, or just a Ba?
Pretty much. I didn't like. What I liked in D2 was I liked that you could put like a pole arm on and hit things further away. I was really disappointed that you couldn't do that.
Back when range existed, yeah.
Right.
The range. I love that you could like poke things from a distance, and it really made it. But that's gone. And Whirlwind, I just. My whole idea behind playing a Barb was to be kind of a tank. And Whirlwind is when the Barb just decide to leave the party altogether. That's kind of a...
Yeah, the Whirlwind with both capos, you're running out front, and then if you're team-oriented, then you're pulling back and bringing stuff back. But yeah, in public games, it was just they're off to the races pretty much.
Yeah,
and all you see are Whirlwinds left behind that kill everything.
Yeah, I played it for a little while, and it's kind of you can play it friendly with the party, but it's not one of my favorite ones.
All right, I got two more. One.
Tell me briefly on Whirlwind, since you mentioned Diablo 2, that was my entire comment on it. I used to play a ton of Barbarian in Diablo 2, and of course everybody used Whirlwind in Diablo 2. That was the only build that was really powerful. And as he said, I mean, I noted it was interesting because your weapons changed your range and also changed your hit speed. So it used to be like a skillful thing to use in Diablo 2. You would kind of do like triangles over things because you had to go over their hitbox in certain places, and it was all about the frame rate and the pixels of distance and such, the sprites. And then in Diablo 3, they just kind of watered all that down and just made this it's like a DOT effect now,
Well, in D2, you could take damage too, so you had to be careful how you went through the mobs. I guess that's true in D3 as well, but it seems like it was less so when you're out in front of everything.
And the resource was always an issue in Diablo 2. You had to stop and hit stuff in between to get resource back.
Right.
And in D3, it's just, I mean, I like the idea of it. You move through stuff, and of course the Whirlwind one seemed like a cool idea until it got wildly exploited. But it just seemed like they dumbed down the function of the skill a lot and made it just sort of all-purpose and less appealing to me. Because old school. Okay, go ahead, Aahz. Next topic.
Hammer of the Ancients.
No, wrong. Next.
I picked
seriously.
That's long been one of my favorite skills to use. You're just sitting there and pounding stuff and saying Hulk smash.
Okay, thank you, Jay Wilson. What do you think about that one, Captain Goldfish? Do you like standing still and saying Hulk smash?
It is kind of fun in like a Mario and Donkey Kong way where you got the hammer and you're kind of smashing things. I did play it for a while. The thing that I liked the most about it was you could put it on right click and just hold right click to move around and just automatically hit things, which is a wonderful style. But yeah, I liked it, but it's not one of my favorites. It wasn't in my favorite builds that I did, but it's definitely a useful damage dealer.
I was trying to figure out why I don't like this when I actually really liked the dropping a bell with a monk. Like, that seemed like a cool thing. And it's the exact same goddamn thing. You know, you stand in one place and you do some massive, slightly AoE thing to stuff right in front of you. But somehow it's cool when you do it with a giant bell from an ancient Chinese temple, and somehow it's done when you're Donkey Kong, when you're Mario smashing barrels.
Yeah, Wave
so
of
I really have no
Light
explanation for that.
Musical. I can see that.
I'm hearing Mario sound effects in my head.
What number?
Doodle-doo, donka donk, donka donka.
Okay, what number are we up to now?
I'm giving my number one. My favorite.
That was your number 2 was Wrath of the
Hammer of the Ancients. Smash. Absolutely.
Hammer of the Ancients is your number 2?
Number 2. I've used it for a long time.
Well, what's going to be number 1 then?
Smashing stuff.
God, I think I don't know you at all.
Well, true. Because you don't know me as a Barb player. Furious Charge, Merciless Assault.
Okay, that's not too bad.
I love.
At least it moves fast.
I love how you move around with it. I love the fact that you get a bonus if you hit more than one enemy. You know, the more enemies you hit, the better it is.
I was going to say, is that the one where you hit more things and it works better?
Yeah.
That one was always kind of fun.
Down, yeah.
It's like positioning and stuff matters?
It's a good escape skill. And it just gets you around the map quickly if you can manage it.
Any thought there, Goldfish?
Yeah, I like it. I'm not and I'm using it in the Rakers build, obviously. I'm not as big of a fan of it being needed to do damage. I like it as like a escape and movement skill. But to put it into the set is kind of like the Dashing Strike Monk set, which is annoying as well. But it is a pretty fun little moving around skill. So my top skills didn't make his list, I think.
What do you got? Seismic Slam in there somewhere or what?
No, I don't have that. My favorite I always loved was Rend.
God. Another standstill hit things next to you skill, huh? Awesome.
That was my whole Inferno survivability. I put Rend on.
But you do it with a backhand, so that makes it cool.
I sucked the life out of everything around me to stay alive.
Well, you're sucking the life out of me right now, so.
Yeah, well, if you were...
Rend hits Flux for crit.
I barely critted for anything back then, so that doesn't sound right. What else do I... Let's see, Ignore Pain. What about Ignore Pain? That's a pretty nice one.
It's a very effective skill.
Yeah, I'm going from like old school tank Barb, and these are all the builds that actually worked. And
I remember standing in the Fields of Misery. This was in softcore, but like in MP10, and I think I had a Scorn, and just Rend, and there was you're surrounded, but you still couldn't die because Rend was returning so much life. Of course, then I was also hitting stuff with hammers, so Flux wouldn't like that so well. But
yeah, but you're just standing still and hitting everything around you. I like the movement and the speed. I don't like the one big hit thing. So I'm just ideologically opposed to the Barbarian skills in some ways.
So what's your favorite? Well, did you play Barbarian?
I played a ton in Diablo 2. I haven't played much in D3.
Okay.
I enjoyed Seismic Slam. I'm surprised you didn't mention that. I mean, it's basically, it's like basically a HOTB. What the hell is that skill called?
It's a
Hammer HOTA.
Yeah, it's the same as...
But with range.
Yeah.
So I remember using that for a while, and it was really cool with the knockback stuff. I basically played Barb in D3 vanilla when he was really weak, and you had to, everything had to either be stunned or pushed back or both, right? So I can recall these times when you try to get a nice angle, and you just try to hit down a hallway and knock 20 monsters back at once with Seismic Slam. And then you could get another shot, knock them all back again, and then duck in and hit things a few times. And just Barb as a tank, I guess, doesn't really appeal to me. Or any character is just as a motionless tank. So
you just answered your question. The difference between Hammer of the Ancients and Wave of Light is one of them is ranged and one of them's not.
I wonder if that's barely ranged. Okay, a little bit, yeah, but it's a bell, dude. It's like dong.
Yep, Seismic Slam's got some range.
Okay, what are your other favorite ones, Goldfish?
One that I didn't use a lot, but I thought was pretty crazy when I first saw it was Sprint, and it's the Forced March. And this was
give you an extra second of sprinting, I guess.
The whole party.
This was the whole party.
Oh yeah,
moves.
that's right, the whole party.
And so and this was useful back when there weren't monsters on every inch. The density was so bad that you spent so much time running to the next group that Sprint Forced March actually was really useful. And that was a very nice thing back then, because there was a lot of running. I think people forget that the Fields of Misery was a desolate place.
It was named appropriately, not ironically.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
that's
whole nothing was anywhere. So you Forced March. You could actually get to something before, and kill it rather than just walking slowly. And that was back before Paragon.
Until your fury was gone. Yeah.
Yeah. If you didn't have run speed on your boots, there wasn't anything you could do about that either.
It's before Channel X Chain too, I think.
It's suffer. Yeah, I had Sprint Mention. I thought it was kind of a cool utility skill, and I think that Blizzard probably had some fun designing that, because it's like, okay, back when they were making the game, what you were just saying, you had to have ways to move quickly because there were big empty spaces and it was boring. And you were running back through entire dungeons trying to find one monster and stuff.
Yes.
Or you'd find they used to have a lot more dead ends in the level layouts. You do this huge long thing and run to a dead end, have to run back 50 screens. And I'm not at all nostalgic for those days, but there was definitely a thing. But then Blizzard obviously thought, how can we make this skill useful for something other than just, overcoming wrong turns in your map? How can we make this skill useful except if you don't have map hack, right? So they started getting some interesting effects in it, and obviously making the whole party run fast is cool. But Run Like the Wind was the one that was ridiculously OP for like an entire year of Diablo 3 vanilla, where everybody was just a Whirlwind Barb with Run Like the Wind dropping tornadoes. And of course the stupid Sprint tornadoes did 80% of your damage.
Exactly.
So, this is obviously supposed to be just a tack on to help you move around the level a little bit faster once in a while, and suddenly it's the most powerful skill in the game, relatively speaking.
And there was a whole, having a high-speed offhand, to just...
to make them proc more tornadoes.
Yeah, it was a crazy, crazy time.
Okay, I'm ready to bitch about Jay Wilson some now. That's all this Barbarian stuff's reminding me. That was always his favorite class in the early days, and the Barbarian was wildly overpowered for the first year of Diablo 3. And it was always everyone would always joke Jay Wilson won't let it be nerfed because he loves his class so much. Maybe it was true.
Let's go back and re-record that section of the podcast.
Yeah, F that loser. Cheeseburger eating son of a bitch. Okay. I recall a whole show we did a bunch of Jay Wilson jokes. I was like, what do you have when they have 3 Jay Wilsons buried up to their necks in sand? Not enough sand. Yes, pa-dum-pa. Okay. Did you have any other favorite Barb skills? I think we've covered every Barb skill in the game at this point. Except for, what is it, Avalanche? Nobody loves Avalanche, do
Nobody loves it.
There's a couple of weird ones that I always wanted to work but never could get them to work. Like Revenge. It just... I think you're...
I used to use that.
Yeah, if you get hit, it worked. What is it, 15% chance?
It would trigger, it would proc it, and then you can play.
Yeah, and that was kind of a strange one, because I could never... It was never up when I needed it, and then when it, then it'd be up after things were dead, and I always wanted to try it, but it didn't seem consistent.
It sounds like a Barbarian, a Demon Hunter skill, frankly. They're all about vengeance and revenge. Okay, Call of the Ancients, yes or no? Is that an appropriate barbarian skill? Should he have little glowing sidekicks who are legendary gods of old? Or is it just stupid?
I thought it was a good call out to the lore of D2, but it was the same thing with Wrath of the Berzerker with a 2-minute cooldown. Like I was never using it, and they didn't last long enough. So
right, and they really didn't do anything, did they?
Not when it not before ROS and the IK set buff. Whenever that was the first time they were really effective.
And now they're mostly affected by just taking a lot of your damage.
Correct.
Together as one. That's the only rune anybody would ever use.
But do you guys feel like it's appropriate? I mean, should Barbs have, pets, minions, summoners?
It's definitely not appropriate, because when you stand in town, they stand on the side of you, staring at you the whole time. Wherever you go, and they stand uncomfortably close. I don't like it.
It's like you're in a Tokyo subway.
They have no personal space, and they are facing you from the side. They're not, they are weird.
Maybe they're just close talkers.
They should stand behind you facing the same direction, like we are going to go somewhere. But no, now they stand right next to you and stare at your face with 6 inches away. It's very uncomfortable.
Like your neighbor's dog.
Maybe they're damn mercenaries.
Glorious.
So that should be fixed in a patch. That should be fixed.
Respect my personal space patch fixed.
Exactly.
QOL, right?
They have no boundaries. I don't think they understand. I don't know where they come from, but they just don't understand what's going on.
Okay, I was going to mention some passives that are good or bad, but we're kind of over time limited as it is. So is there any passive you guys mentioned that was your absolute favorite, or one you think is totally wrong, or you don't even care?
I think they've got a lot of good passives. I think they've got some of the better passives. They've got a lot more choices of realistic passives to use. I mean, I was trying to find another passive for my Wiz the other day, and I was like, none of these are even options. Half of them don't even apply to most builds.
That was the thing we took about, just how good the passives are. We had a conversation about the Monk for a while back in D3 Vanilla, back when the Monk was still one of the better hardcore characters, and how his passives all just sucked.
Right.
They were I remember doing a whole show, we went down there were 8 or 9 Barb passives that were better than any single passive for the Monk. The 6th, 7th, 8th most popular Barb passives were better than anything the Monk had. I'm like, how can this be? They're kind of similar melee. The one that I always remembered of is Brawler, which is, you get a damage buff if you have more than, 3 or 4 enemies within 12 yards?
It's 3, I think.
There's multiple damage buffs, there's multiple fury buffs, there's multiple defense buffs.
And Brawler was the 10th most popular Barb passive at that point. It would have been the number 1 Monk passive, just instantly, if that had been switched over. And it was and just for some reason, Barb has tons of really good passives, and interesting ones. They're not all just plus 10% damage. I mean, they actually do some cool stuff.
I was Superstition before you could really get gear. Superstition was a defensive and an offensive because it built Fury as well.
Yeah, I actually have that one written down here. It gives you a damage buff to non-physical attacks, and you have a chance to generate 2 Fury when you take such damage. Again, back in the days when Fury was hard to come by.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always use that one. And now was it a couple seasons ago that they got the death passive?
Yeah, they got a death passive.
Seal,
That's fairly recent. That's a very recent addition. And that's at level. That's a really low level.
Yeah, 16 or something. It's easiest to power level Barbs because they can put that on right away in case you make a mistake.
I think Wizard.
That was the funny thing about when that skill came in, because that Barb was the last class to get a death cheating passive, and we used to always joke about why doesn't the Barb have a death cheating passive? Because he doesn't need one.
Yeah.
And now he has one at level 5, so he's safe forever. I also like a Weapons Master, which is basically the same kind of thing as Archery, the Demon Hunter passive, where it gives you buffs to different weapon types depending on what you're using. I like skills that get, it rewards choices or penalizes choices, and you can choose, okay, I can switch to an axe instead of a sword, but it'll change this and this, and they're not totally big differences. I always wish they'd been a little bit bigger, it actually made more of a difference in your overall build.
They do have a few weird skill-specific passives as well. Like the ones that give cooldowns to specific skills, and other ones that buff specific skills. And I don't recall which ones they are. I'm probably using.
Well, no
them
escape
now.
is fun. Damage buff to enemies over 15 yards away when using some ranged skills. That goes with your over-the-shoulder boulder thrower skill you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And harpoon, I'm sure everyone uses it a lot with their weapon throw. Weapon throw is a really awesome skill, right? Okay, no, it's not. But I like the idea of skills that are like, instead of just the same passive, it just everything is 10% better now. You know, it's like you have to kind of make choices, and like they become, they're useful for one build but not for another build.
And that's kind of a callback to D2, where you had to choose which path that you were going to go down, depending on what weapon you were going to use.
Remember choices and like skill points and things that actually decisions made had mattered.
Oh.
You couldn't just respec everything in 5 seconds.
My memory isn't so good. It's tough to remember.
What I remember is not
Blizzards.
spending any points till you were level 30 or whatever, not doing any damage forever, and then finally getting.
Or sometimes 24.
Yeah,
24.
whatever you could. Yeah, just waiting, and finally just like putting your points into stuff.
But then once you got to start spending it, it was like you got so much better so quickly. It's like, ooh, another level, another point, another 8%. Boom. Cha-ching.
Yeah.
Well, and you were usually spending 2 points, one, for 2 skills. Maybe you got both of them at 24, so you were saving up, so you put a point in both of them.
Remember delayed gratification and having like plan things? We don't have that in video games these days. I want to be super powerful. I want instant level 70 button, and I want to get my entire 6-piece set just for like falling out of bed. Hey, we got the Diablo 3 for you.
Well, didn't we used to have, like in the PTR, they had like little obelisks that you had to go to change your skills.
That was just briefly when they were first putting in specs.
Yeah, that was kind of.
That was way too. They were like one random one out in the desert somewhere.
Yeah, there was just you'd come across one. Oh, I can change them now. In this.
You had to go to town to respec in those days.
Yeah.
The Altar of Sorrow, or what the hell it was called. The Altar of Wilson. Okay, so any final Barb thoughts? I mean, obviously, you're playing one Aahz, but it sounds like very grudgingly. You're not going to play it again for 3.5 years.
Hey, I enjoy the Earth set. I played Elite Barb, a while back, and so I'm enjoying this one too. And you throw a big boulder.
You just can't wait for season 12.
Can't wait for season 12.
Just any minute now. Season dozen. Season XII.
Season noon.
Do you have any thoughts on the Barb, Captain Goldfish? Are you playing one this season? Or are you going to play one? When's your next Barb going to be coming along?
Yeah, I started with the Barb this season because I couldn't decide who I wanted to play, and I thought I should bring it back.
So you chose someone you didn't like at all.
Well, it's my third most played character. When I stopped playing the Barb the first time, it was to play Monk, and then I stayed with Monk basically until season started, and then I played a Wizard for a couple. But yeah, Barb was one of my first. It's my third most played by a long shot. The other ones are pretty far back there. DH.
At least he's ahead of Crusader.
Yeah, it's a little ahead of... I played Crusader all last season, but yeah. My Crusader was much better, too.
Yeah, so prepping for this show, reading over all the skills, and writing down some notes, that was the most time I'd spent thinking about a Barbarian in 2 years or something, since the last Conan movie came out, basically. And I wasn't thinking, okay, this is totally boring, I don't care. I kind of enjoyed going over it and thinking about what the skills used to be, and I was curious about how stuff has changed and what it's good for now. And of course, most of the Barbs we see this season are all just support stuff, ZDPS and lockdown things, and that's been the last few seasons. Which is weird. None of us really talked about that on this show, but, we all... Obviously, the archetype, like the character design for the Barb, is like super damage, smash things. Whether you find that entertaining at point-blank range or not is up to you. Obviously, it's a not for me, but that seemed like the design. And then suddenly Barbs became most popular in groups by able to lock down stuff and provide massive, healing and power regen for everybody else. Which I guess is, that's a valid thing, right?
Yeah, I would like to see...
Does that fit the Barb dream for you, though?
Kind of. I would like to see, like, a support set maybe come out for different classes. I mean, if we're going to have these... Every class is going to have their support ZDPS. I'd like to see them, design around an actual support type set.
I don't think they made a support build on purpose yet, so maybe they can make a set that would design that. They seem to make them by accident pretty
it'd be nice if they could, make a support set that wasn't completely 0 DPS, but, obviously it would be like way below what you could do in a group, but it would just be helpful for a group. It'd be nice to see maybe a little bit of love to the support, make it work a little bit more realistically, a little bit better, maybe if they want it that way. Because there's going to be supports no matter what. And I think Barbs have consistently had a role as support.
I think the female Barb needs more support. Have you ever seen her walk around at a fast speed?
Haven't noticed.
Joke. Come on, guys. It's a boob joke, Boobs? Never mind. Everyone loves boob jokes on the internet, right?
Everybody.
Exactly.
Any final Barb thoughts for you, Aahz? About Season 12 is coming up pretty soon?
No, I think I've said enough about Barbs for a while, but I do want to stress that I am having fun playing the Barb this season.
And you can't wait for Season 7 to begin so you can play someone fun. Who are you going to play in Season... who's going to play in Season 8?
I don't
Season 7 is your most popular, so we can't answer that. What's your second most popular? I guess it might depend on how the game changes or whatever.
I'm struggling. Like, do I repeat the same pattern? If I repeat the same pattern, then I went Witch Doctor and Wizard, which means Wizard would be 8. Or do I change it up and say I'll play the class that I've played the least amount of time, whenever the next season comes around? I don't know.
Good answer.
Too much planning.
Yeah, just see which way your mouse leads you when the moment comes, right?
Need a D6.
Do either of you guys have a strong opinion on male versus female Barb? Do you only play one or the other? Does the female Barb seem inappropriate?
I'm playing a female Barb this season, and it was kind of because I couldn't find good transmogs for my male Barb. I was just trying to find something that looked good. And I was tired.
I don't know what that means. How about you, Aahz? You have an opinion on the gender?
I play female at the moment, female Barb, but I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other, not like Demon Hunters.
Yeah, it's funny because like Demon Hunters and Wizards are pretty strongly opinion on that one often.
Yes.
We had a bunch of votes on this back in forever ago, before the game even came out, and there were like 3 classes that it was like almost no preference, and then there were like 3 classes that it was 100. I think male Barbs were highly preferred over female Barbs. And then it was female Wizards and Witch Doctor, no, Demon Hunters. I think the female Witch Doctor was pretty unpopular too in those early votes. I don't know if anyone's done a census on this in the actual place choices in recent months or years, but I guess female Barb works okay. Do you remember the whole point where the male Barb was going to be like the lore? He was going to be the actual guy from Diablo 2?
Yeah.
But then it's like, how do we write the story? Because he already knows Tyrael and stuff, It's like, that wouldn't really make any sense. It's kind of like in how the new Star Wars movies, like C-3PO in the prequels, like, suddenly C-3PO doesn't know who anybody is, even though like he knew them in the previous movies. Like, he was there, like, he knows that, like, Leia and Luke are, like, brother and sister. Why doesn't he tell them in like, episode 4 and 5? Retcon, that's why.
They wiped his memory. Did you not watch the...
Conveniently enough, yes.
Yeah, they wiped it.
Except everything... Okay, they didn't want R2-D2's memory, though. He knew who they were.
No,
Couldn't he, like, beep and boop or something?
No, he was in on the plot.
That's when they took his jetpacks away and all his other useful skills.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting into, like, totally other films here. If we had this kind of life on top of the Warcraft movie, it would have been a much better podcast.
Yeah.
Now you're getting into, like, C-3PO's beeping and booping. Okay, guys, we don't know which class we're doing next week. I haven't decided yet. It kind of depends on who's available and what. But hopefully we'll be doing one of these each week for the next 6 weeks or so and talking about a different class each time. And we'll probably put up a little news post or something asking for nominations for top 10 skills. Obviously, if you guys disagree and want to explain to Aahz why he's totally wrong about every skill choice, you can hit the comments up, and we'll be not reading those because we don't really care about your opinions, even though we like to pretend that we do. And don't follow us on Twitter, and don't subscribe on iTunes because, frankly, I don't give a shit. And thanks for listening to the Diablo 3 podcast. We're online at diabloi.net, and Barbaric...
Moo.
Moo.
Moo. Moo.
When you moo, Goldfish, do bubbles go up?